Time now for another In the Legal Know with Vincent J. Russo. And today, Vincent is talking about individual retirement accounts and when you can withdraw money from your IRA without a penalty. More than 42% of all U.S. households have IRA accounts. That's about 55.5 million households. Welcome, Vincent. This affects a lot of people.
That's right.
So let's first talk about, just the IRA, why that's so important to have.
Sure. Times have changed over the decades where back, in the 1950s and 60s, most people had pension plans. And now employers don't offer pension plans. And so there was a big shift. Everybody was put on their own to plan for retirement. And the government way back when said, well, we'll give you Social Security. But Social Security benefits are not going to make it for most people in terms of meeting their expenses in retirement. So IRAs came into place, as well as 401k plans, which we're not going to talk about today. And these IRAs are individual retirement accounts, which allows someone to take some of their earnings, pre-tax dollars, and place it into a traditional IRA money so it can grow tax-free and then be available at retirement age. And there's also a variation of that, which is a Roth IRA, which is you can fund your IRA with post-tax dollars. So you can do it and not pay tax with pre-tax dollars, or you could do it with post-tax dollars.
Okay.
So what happens here is that everyone's faced also with the fact that they may need money prior to retirement. They may have a cash flow problem. And so we get into the issue of then, do we take money out of that IRA? And what are the consequences?
Okay, so when can the funds be withdrawn?
Right. All right. So 59 and a half is the age. Once you reach 59 and a half, you can take the money out. If it's a traditional IRA, you take it out, you pay an income tax, there's no penalty. And if you're in a Roth IRA, you take it out. If you had the account for at least 5 years, there's no tax consequences. Now, here's the rub. If you take it out before 59 and a half, you could be subject to a 10% penalty. All right? So here's an example of how that penalty could really hurt someone. At age 50, in this example, if someone withdraws $50,000, and let's say they're in the 24% tax bracket, they're going to have a $12,000 income tax. So they're going to have to pay that tax. But now there's also the 10% penalty, $5,000. So someone has $50,000 coming out, they're going to spend $17,000 in taxes and penalty and only end up with $33,000 of the $50,000.
Wow.
So can be really damaging.
Right. So are there exceptions?
Yes. So the IRS looks at this and says, all right, there are a handful of exceptions, and they're broken into two categories. Either a certain condition or event occurs, or money is used for a designated purpose. So let's look at the ones that when a condition is met. And we have a list here. So we start with, if you're age 59 and a half or older, no problem, no penalty. If you're disabled, you can take it out at any age. If you're a beneficiary of an inherited IRA, let's say mom passed away and you're 35 years old and now you're a beneficiary of that IRA, then there's a system for taking those monies out without a penalty. And then if you have a Roth IRA that's funded with post-tax dollars and you have that account at least 5 years, then regardless of your age, you can take the money out without a penalty. But remember, every time you take money out, it's subject to income tax if it's a traditional IRA.
Okay. You talked about distributions for a designated purpose.
Right.
Talk about that a little bit more.
Okay. So this is to help people as they're in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, pay for certain types of expenses, and they need the cash flow from an IRA. So we have a list here. First is if someone has unreimbursed medical expenses. So let's say someone has significant medical expenses and it exceeds 7.5% of their adjusted gross income. And so someone has, $20,000, $30,000 in medical expenses. A portion of them are perhaps over the 7.5% amount, and hence they could take money out of the IRA to pay for the medical expense. All right, let's pull that chart up again. Health insurance premiums. If someone's unemployed, they can pay their health insurance premiums by withdrawing from the IRA without a penalty. Now, for first-time home buyers, there's a $10,000 withdrawal amount that can be taken. It's a lifetime amount for that first purchase of a home. So here again, no penalty. And then this one was added more recently, which is $5,000 per parent when you have a child, birth of a child, or adopt a child, and that'll help pay for those expenses.
Wow. So those exceptions,
Right.
no penalty for early.
Correct.
Very interesting.
Yes.
I had no idea about that. So, long-term impact of taking it out too early. What, I guess the downfall, obviously,
Right.
is
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, so there is a downside.
Yeah.
All right, because the purpose of the IRA is to allow you to plan for your retirement and to take care of you in your retirement years, have the lifestyle that you want to have. And the power of these IRAs is that they grow tax deferred. And so they can accumulate and grow faster because there's no tax as you go along as those assets increase in value. So the downside is that once you start taking the money out, it's going to dramatically impact what's going to be available when you do get to retirement age.
Right.
And that's the downside. So let's look at an example just to see how bad it can be. Someone's 50 years old and they're going to retire at age 65. And they have $500,000 in the IRA. So they've done a good job in putting money aside. And they're getting a 7% annual rate of return on that $500,000. Over that period from age 50 to 65, those assets will grow to $1.4 million.
Wow.
Left untouched. $1.4 million. But let's say the individual says, you know what, I'm going to pull $50,000 out at age 50. Mm-hmm. It will reduce what will be available later by $200,000.
Wow.
So you have to think about alternatives.
Yeah.
What are the, is there another way of paying for what you need to cover in terms of costs? Or maybe you got to not spend the money, period.
Right. Try to stay away from it if you can, at all costs.
That's right. Now, so borrowing in other ways. Maybe it's a mortgage on your house, a home equity mortgage, because you can borrow money and there's no income tax consequence or penalties involved. Maybe you can borrow, you can go to your credit cards. I hate saying that because the rates can be very high. But here again, you are avoiding that 10% withdrawal penalty. Perhaps there's a family member who's able to help you financially.
Yeah.
So I think you just have to be creative. It's a last resort to take money out of an IRA.
Okay. Bottom line,
That's
last resort to take money out of your IRA.
absolutely.
Okay. Vincent, thank you so much.